All right, what up? It's Leonidas here, and in this Google Ads tutorial, I'm going to cover how to create responsive search ads with the call extension. Now, in the previous tutorial, I showed you how to do call ads, but we're not sure if this year or the next year, Google Ads might potentially get rid of them. So we have to do two separate courses, one for just call ads and one with responsive search ads, because they function completely differently and they generate calls in a different manner as well. So let's go ahead and begin. I'll go ahead and show you how much I've ran just on a single manager account since, I guess, 2022. And here it is. As you can see, I ran about $671,000 of my own money in the affiliate marketing space for generating phone calls. So that's plus or minus how much experience I have running Google Ads, as well as call ads, as well as perhaps e-commerce and other stuff. So if you're going to learn something, at least learn it from someone who's actually spent some cash. Now, in this tutorial, let's go ahead and summarize what we're going to learn today. I'm going to quickly explain to you what are responsive search ads. Obviously, I'll give you an example of what they look like. We're going to go ahead and dive into Google Ads itself. Presumably, you've used Google Ads before, or you're about to set it up. And then we're going to go ahead and create our first campaign. We're going to import some zip codes and locations using AI. Then we're going to create our responsive search ads. And then we're going to go ahead and append call extension conversion tracking. So when someone taps the call button on our ad, they basically go into a phone call, we track that. And as well as if they go onto our landing page, then we can also track a call conversion from that through Google. And then finally, I'll show you some example account data in order to understand what the conversions are going to potentially look like once they start coming in from your responsive search ads. And then finally, a review. All right, so to cover very briefly, I'm going to show you what a responsive search ad looks like. Typically, when you type in a search term into Google, such as fence repair near me, or locksmith near me, or plumber near me, you get the results and on your mobile phone. And when you tap on one of the results, you either go into a website or you go into a phone call. So technically, these are the types of ads that you probably see where you're going to have a title here at the top, and then the description, and then the website as well. Now, the difference between a typical call ad versus a responsive ad is that, as you can see, it's rotating actively in order to swap in various titles and descriptions that we can put into our ad. So it's essentially dynamic based on the algorithms that Google Ads thinks is most appropriate for showing at the time. So what that means is that you put in a bunch of titles and descriptions, and then Google Ads will choose the right title and description to show at the appropriate time to see whatever converts the best ultimately to make you money. So not only will your ad show up like this, so you can see it's currently swapping, what it will also show up is a call extension, which we'll create later. So here is the call extension. So what you'll see is at the top will be that part that was rotating, which is the responsive search ad part. And then right below it will be a click to call button. Now, ultimately, this click to call button will only show up on mobile devices. So we also have to adjust the targeting with our ads. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and begin in creating our responsive search ads. So when you first log into your interface, we're just going to cover very briefly two things you need to know. One is that there's the menu right here. This will cover all the menu items that you might need within Google Ads at any given point. And then two is how to create our first campaign. So this big blue button, we're going to go ahead and click the create campaign button. And we're going to create a new campaign. And then we're going to create a campaign with no guidance. And then we're going to go into search. And then down here, you'll see a bunch of conversion goals. When you first create your account, you probably won't see these, so don't worry about them. We're going to create our own later on. But for now, let's go ahead and click continue. And here we're going to do two things. One is website visits and two is phone calls. So for the website visits, we'll simply put it into our domain name, which is https ppcbasic.com/fence, and the phone number. This is the phone number that we'll use. You can go ahead and call that number. You'll get a nice, beautiful message from Leonidas. And then hit continue. And then here for our naming convention, I usually like to use just 4 letters to indicate which campaign I'm working on. So FENC is for fencing, for example. Roof is for roofing. LEC, and you get the gist of it. So fence, and then we'll do RSA, so responsive search ads. And then we'll do max clicks. So what max clicks simply means is that we're not targeting a conversion. We're simply trying to get as many clicks as possible. When eventually you start getting conversions into your campaign, you can change it. But for now, just for starting off, we're going to go ahead and stick with max clicks and then hit continue. All right, in our bidding strategy, once again, we're going to go ahead and select clicks because we don't have any conversions yet for this. And then for the maximum cost per click bid limit, because you're running this in the United States, I typically recommend a $4 click maximum. That's how much you should be paying around for the cost per just the click itself, because click costs will add up substantially because not every click converts. So you just want to pay as little as possible for the clicks themselves. And then hopefully over the course of, let's say 5, 6, 7 clicks, you get an actual conversion. And then we're going to go ahead and click next. We're going to unselect search partners and display network because those are completely useless. And then for our locations, we're going to generate a couple locations to target. So previously in a previous tutorial, we did Orange County. Let's go ahead and select a different county this time. So here was a prompt I used previously. List 10 Orange County, California cities in the form city, United States. So instead of Orange County, we can use, let's say, Los Angeles County. List 10 Los Angeles County cities in the form city, United States. All right, so these are all cities within the region of Los Angeles. So we have Los Angeles, Long Beach, Santa Clarita, etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead and copy all of these. We're going to do advanced search, add locations in bulk, search, and target all. So once more, you can go ahead and zoom in, and you'll see that within Los Angeles County, we're targeting all these locations. So this is something you have to do if you're targeting the home services niche, but if you're targeting insurance, then usually it's more statewide. And then we're going to go ahead and click save. All right, so now let's go ahead and try a different method. We're going to use the same prompt we had here, and instead we're going to use zip codes. So we'll do zip code, list 10 Los Angeles County zip codes in the form zip code, United States. And there we go. So these are all Los Angeles County zip codes, and we can import those as well. Add locations of bulk, search. You can see they're all very much available. Hit save. And then we're going to go down, and then everything else is good to go. Here we'll include some audience segments. So typically, if they're looking to do their fence, they're probably a homeowner. So in this case, we'll select homeowner. Ultimately, the person who needs to make the final decision is going to be the homeowner. So we want to simply target, in this case, homeowners, especially in the home services niche. But it's not a requirement because sometimes Google Ads doesn't necessarily know if the person is a homeowner or not. But in this case, we'll assume they are a homeowner. And we'll go down, and everything else should be good to go. We'll set our schedule, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So in this case, 9 p.m. would be 2100 hours. There we go, and hit next. All right, so here we can essentially generate our ad, but we're going to go ahead and skip that for now. We're going to do the more classical, old-fashioned way, and we're going to go ahead and skip that. And even here, it starts to generate us a bunch of keywords that we could potentially use. So in this case, we'll augment these keywords by going back into our ChatGPT, and we'll say list 10 Los Angeles County, California cities in the form city fence repair. And there we go. So we'll just copy these, go back in, and add them. Now, these keywords are generated automatically by Google because they're throwing AI at pretty much everything right now. but these ones we can pretty much use on our own. It's not the format that I would highly recommend, but it is a method of potentially getting more targeted keywords. And then we're going to go ahead and go down. So here, I already plugged in my landing page address. So in this case, it's ppcbasic.com/fence. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. So typically when someone clicks on our ad, they will go to this landing page on their phone. So you can see here that it will say fence repair hotline in and whatever your region is. So if someone's visiting from Los Angeles, California, it will say Los Angeles, California here. And then it'll show their time zone. And then we'll go ahead and go down. This is an AI generated image. And then once again, we have a location insertion here. We'll keep scrolling down. The area serviced, it will show specifically the person's area that they're currently in. Okay. So whatever area that you're visiting from is going to show your city as well. And then we'll keep scrolling down. And that's pretty much it. Okay. So we'll go right back up. And we'll go back to our ad. So we're going to go ahead and go down here. And then in the display path, I typically like to put call now or tap to call. All right. And here in the call section, we can actually add the call extension right away. So we're going to hit plus calls. And then we're going to add a new call extension. And then that's pretty much good to go. And we'll hit save and apply. All right. So that's set up. We're going to go ahead and continue going down. And in this case, we can either populate this using our own intuitions, or we simply hit more ideas and we'll select these. So fence repair pros, no hassle, stress, etc., etc. These are all ideas you could potentially use for your headlines. We'll hit save and they automatically get populated into our description. We'll clean out some of these. We don't need that one. Fence repair, the United, PPC basic, those are irrelevant. Let's go ahead and throw in some more, I guess. Unbeatable prices, etc., etc. Great value. And then for the description, let's see what we have here. Suggestions. That's good, that's good, that's good. We'll just throw in everything like that. Boom. Or obviously, if you want, you can go into ChatGPT and say, generate 2 descriptions for Google Ads, 90 words max for fence repair. Actually, what I meant to say was 90 characters max. So characters max for fence repair. There we go. That's 1. And that is 2. Perfect. And I'll just remove these ones because they're not that good. So I'm going to go ahead and add an AI generated image. So we're going to hit ads, add image, and then we're going to go into uploads. We're going to upload our image. I'm going to go in, make sure we have the correct dimensions, select ratio, and hit save. All right, good to go. And everything else should be good to go. All right, so one more thing I'm going to show you here in our ad is, let's say they land on your ad. You want to make sure to show them the exact location that the person's coming from to make it as relevant as possible for that person. So we're going to go ahead and go down to here, add URL options, and we're going to append a custom parameter, and we're going to paste this URL suffix. So basically when someone clicks on our ad, this entire thing gets appended to our URL, and this essentially passes data from Google into our landing page. So in this case, we have the service type. So in this case, we'll do fence, and then the keyword. So whatever keyword that they ended up clicking on when they were searching is what gets filled into here. So let's say Los Angeles County fence repair, and basically that keyword gets passed into our landing page as well in case we want to use it. And then finally, what we want to do is we want to pass the location of the user according to Google. So in this case, Google's going to give us the exact location of where they think the user is clicking from. And by passing that into our landing page, we can hyper target our landing page to the user. So in this case, what I do is I appended Google lock equals, and my landing page, if we go to it, will interpret the URL here at the top to an actual location, right? So it'll be question mark Google lock equals, and then the number, and then you have whatever the city is. As you can see, each time the number changes, it corresponds with a different city. Here's a different city, etc., etc. And each one corresponds to a different number. So this is how you essentially hyper-target the landing page that you're advertising to the person that's visiting. So even though it says Shelby or it says Selby, South Dakota, we'll go to the bottom here and it will also show them on the map. So our service for 24/7 fence repair also serves Motley, Minnesota. And you can clearly see that we have a 20-kilometer radius around Motley, Minnesota. If you want this is a custom plugin. Check it out in the description. And so let's go ahead and continue. So we'll skip site links for now to make sure that the tutorial doesn't go too long, and then we'll hit done. And next. And for our budget, I'll simply set it to $4. All right, so it looks like our campaign already exists. So I'm going to simply add a 2 there. So everything looks like it's good to go now. And I'll simply hit publish campaign. And this part is the next section where you have to do the Google Tag Manager, but I'm going to skip this and go back to our campaigns just to do a quick overview. So once we're back in our dashboard, we'll hit campaigns. And then we can see here is our responsive search ad campaign. I will hide the rest of these just to clarify. And we're going to go into the campaign. So we're going to click on that, and then it'll take us into our ad groups. So by clicking on the ad groups, we're going to be able to see our keywords. So these are all the keywords that we added. On the left side here, you can see the ads themselves. Keep in mind, not only are you controlling the hierarchy of where you are on the left side here, but also on the top level here as well. So you can select which campaign you want to view, as well as which ad group. And then here within the ads themselves, we have our ad that we just made. And if you obviously want to make any edits, you can go ahead and do that. As we can see, the call extension has been appended to our ad. So we're going to go ahead and click the little X here at the top left to exit out. And now we're going to create call conversions. So if someone clicks on the phone number on our ad and makes a phone call, and let's say they speak for about 60 seconds, that's considered a conversion. So on the left side here, we're going to go into goals, and then conversions, and then summary. And then we're going to scroll down here. In a previous tutorial, in the call ads tutorials, I showed you how to create these. What I like to do when I track all the calls that come in, I like to track the calls that are simply coming in as calls from ads. This is what I call a raw call. And then we have the calls that essentially convert. So these are the call extension calls. These are the calls that last a certain duration. So in this case, we created a call extension conversion for $50 if the call lasts 60 seconds. And then more complicated conversions are if they last over 5 minutes and if they last over 10 minutes. So this is when we know that the call was like a very, very good call, right? And this is just for if you want to really optimize for the highest possible conversion metrics. But those are more advanced tutorials that I will show in a more advanced video. Nonetheless, what we need to do now is we need to simply make a simple call extension conversion. Even though we already made one in the previous tutorial, let's do that again. So let's go ahead and create conversion action, and then phone calls, and then calls from ads using call assets or call ads, and then hit continue. And then we're going to name our conversion. So call extension. And then we're going to do, let's say, $50 for 120 seconds, right? This is more reasonable. In the 60-second one, no one's going to pay you for 60 seconds. It's way too short. But for maybe 2 minutes or so, by that point, we already have, relatively good amount of information that the person is interested in the service that's being provided. So the value here, we'll put $50. And then we only want to count it once. We don't want to count it every time the person calls in. And then the call length, we can adjust here to 120 seconds and hit done. All right. As you can see, within our phone call lead category, we have a $50 for 120 seconds call conversion. So now we need to append that to our campaign. So to do that, we're going to go back to our campaign. I'm going to go to the campaign section, and then we can either click on our campaign here, or once again, we can select it at the top here. But for now, all I want to do is edit these settings. So we're going to hit the edit settings feature. Now there's 3 ways to append your call conversion. I'm going to show you all 3 of them. So number 1 is edit the settings. We're going to go into conversion goals, and we're going to go here, campaign specific, and then we're going to choose a goal, which is the phone call leads. Hit save and hit save. All right. So that sets it on the entire campaign. Let's say you have multiple campaigns. So you can also select the little check mark here, hit edit, and then update conversion goals, and then change the goal settings to campaign specific once more, and then phone call leads, hit save. So this is if you want to apply it to all of your campaigns in one go. And then finally, we can set it on the ad level itself. So we're going to go ahead and go into our campaign. Once again, we can either click on it here, or we can simply select the campaign from the top here, and then we can go into our ads. All right, so now we're going to simply edit the conversion here. And the final method of adding a call conversion to this particular campaign is not through the ad itself. Instead, we actually have to go into our call extension assets. And in that case, we're going to go into assets here, and then assets. And at the very top here, we go into call, and then we select our phone number. So fence RSA max clicks 2, and then we'll hit edit. And then here we set the conversion action. So it's not just calls from ads. We want it to be calls from ads that last 120 seconds. Okay. So this is what you need to do if you're running responsive search ads with a call extension, which is obviously slightly different from just call ads. And then hit save. All right. So that's good to go. Now, finally, we need to know how to track a conversion if they make the phone call from our website. So let's say they land on our website on the mobile version of this page, and they click the phone number here. So it'll open up their mobile dialer. And then let's say they stay on the phone for 120 seconds. How do we track that as a conversion within Google Ads? In order to do that, we have to go back into our Google Ads. We actually have to add a specific script from Google into our landing page. So to do that, we're going to go back into Google Ads. And we're going to go ahead and go into goals once more, conversions, summary, and we're going to create a conversion action. And then we're going to go into phone calls once more, and then calls to a phone number on your website. We're going to hit continue. And then we're going to do this call lander. Okay. And we're going to do once again, $50 for 120 seconds. We're going to set $50 here, one conversion. And this is where you tell Google what phone number to look on your website in order to change that number to their own number. Okay, so what Google is essentially doing is that it's scanning for the phone number that you put into this box on your page, and it will swap it with their phone number. And this is what you need to do if you want to track phone calls on your landing page through Google Ads. So in this case, we're going to put our phone number that we have on our landing page. So in this case, it's this one right here. And we're going to go back. And there we go. We're going to input that. And then we also want to put it here as well. So your phone number on your landing page has to look exactly like this. Okay. Whether it's in the HTML, whether it's on the front end, everywhere that the phone number is listed, it has to look like this. And then finally, the call length will do 120 seconds. And then here we have to install the tags so that Google is able to swap the phone number with their own phone number in order to track the phone calls. So in this case, we'll do install the tag yourself. I typically do it through the Google Tag Manager, but in this case for beginner tutorials, we're going to keep it as install the tag yourself. And then you need to basically copy and paste 2 scripts. One is this script, and this basically tells Google Ads to pass any conversion metrics from your website into their systems. And the second one is the little script that you use in order to swap the phone number. All right, so I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and copy this code. I'm going to copy. We're going to go back into our website. In this case, I'm using WordPress, but obviously if you've ever installed a header or footer tag, this should be fairly simple for you. And then we're going to go into header footer. And in this case, we can simply install this one. Doesn't really matter which one we do, but we'll use, I guess this one is fine. All right, so we need to find where it's located. Or in this case, it's in our settings and header and footer script. And then in the header, we're going to simply paste this. There we go. And then on top of that, in order to swap the phone number, we're going to go back in and we're going to copy this script as well and paste that one as well. There we go. So now we're passing data back into Google Ads, and Google Ads is also swapping this specific phone number on our landing page. All right. And hit save settings. There you go. And that's all you need to do. So back in our conversions, we have the call extension conversion, right? The call extension conversion here for $50 for 120 seconds that we created, and the call lander conversion for a phone call, which converts at pretty much the same thing, but essentially that one is coming from our website. Now, finally, as part of the summary, I'm going to show you some sample data from running RSA ads, as well as what the conversions will typically look like within your Google Ads interface. So let's go ahead and view one of my accounts. All right, so once you start getting clicks on your ads, you can go ahead and start segmenting the data for you to understand what you're looking at. So in this case, you're going to go ahead at the top here, you're going to select segment, and then either by click type or by conversion action. This is typically how I like to view the data. And then once you do that, you go all the way to the bottom and you simply look at all enabled campaigns in your current filter. All right. And in this case, we want to filter by campaigns that are only RSA. So in this case, I'm going to filter by this category. I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom. And as you can see, all of my RSA ads in this particular account, we have headline clicks, generated about 12,000 clicks and X 762 conversions. And then for mobile, we did 3,625 clicks, which generated 627 conversions. So in this case, obviously, mobile clicks to call are higher converting. So that's why we always want to put a call extension in our ad. And you can see also the number of phone calls that were generated. So not every click, even on your call extension, is going to be a phone call. And not every phone call is going to last more than 10 seconds. And not every conversion is going to necessarily be a conversion, right? Sometimes they might be duplicate calls, or they might even be refunded calls because the buyer was looking for a different kind of customer. So nonetheless, you can see it once again that headline clicks do generate conversions, but not to the level of mobile clicks, right? So typically you want to make sure you have the call extension in there all the time. And that basically concludes this tutorial. Let's go ahead and review what we covered. All right, so I quickly explained what a responsive search ad is, and then we went right into Google Ads. We created our first campaign, and then we did our zip code / locations using AI, using ChatGPT, but you can usually use whatever AI you want to use because they're all really good right now. And then we created our responsive search ad. Then we appended our call extension conversion for tracking. So this is if they click on the call extension on the phone number itself. And then we added our Google lander conversion tracking. So if someone lands on your landing page, then Google swaps the number for their number so that you can track conversions through their platform. And then finally, I showed you some example account data of what happens once you start getting clicks, once you start getting conversions, once you start getting phone calls coming through your Google Ads account. And then finally, we review. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure obviously to subscribe, and I'll be releasing even more tutorials very soon. And I'll be releasing a course with some really, really advanced content coming up. So if this was advanced for you, wait till you see some of the even more advanced stuff that I'm going to show you later on. And once again, there is a link in the description to sign up for a free course from my 2021 content, as well as a link to get the plugin of what I use to generate my landing pages to show the visitor's location and their map, etc., to make it hyper targeted for the person. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Leonidas here, and salud.